Got some light Magnum hand loads, and what I have today is some 357 Magnum and 44 Magnum, what I consider my really light Magnum loads. So I just tested some hand loads. I did in 38 special and 44 special with the same XTP bullets, 125 grain for our 357 caliber and 180 grain for our 44 caliber. So I did 38 plus P and 44 special. I did those with tight group powder like I have here today. And I like to use that powder. I've actually got accused of using only that powder. I use quite a few powders. I counted about 8 powders I have at home that I use for various different loads. But I like to use the tight group for loads that are not truly Magnum, but will also potentially have less flash because of that powder. So that's really what I'm looking for, is a load that really doesn't exist. You don't really see very many like light Magnum loads. Either it's a full house 44 Magnum with too much power, too much recoil, or it's a 44 special where you don't really have enough velocity to get hollow point expansion. There really needs to be more commercial loads available, like what I'm trying to achieve here. And the same thing for our 357 Magnum. So what I did today was I took your minimum charge, your starting charge of both of these with this powder, and I decreased the charge by 10%. So our 357 Magnum, the starting charge was 6.8 grains, so what I actually used was 6.1 grains. Starting charge for that 44 Magnum load was 10.3 grains. I actually went with 9.2 grains, so roughly about a 10% decrease in powder with both of those. Normally that's something you shouldn't do, but when you're talking Magnums, it's a little bit different because you're not going to get a situation where you're going to get a squib from undercharging, because both of these are loaded with quite a bit of powder. And I'm using large and small Winchester pistol primers. I'm not using the Magnums. Now the main point of using a Magnum is that when you have really high pressure, the cut material of that primer will hold in place better. But when we're working with really light Magnums, I don't think the softer cups of the regular primers are going to come into play here, where they're going to blow the primer out. So no reason for me to really use Magnum primers. So we're going to see what we get with these. I'm really interested to see what we'll get. So we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. Then I'm doing my 10% clear ballistic test here. So we're going to go into plain clear ballistics to see what the best potential of those cartridges are. The reason why I do that is when I tested a lot of ammo before, a lot of times we would always get no expansion because of the hollow points clogging with denim. So I started doing a plain clear ballistic shot to see what the bullet is supposed to look like, and then we'll move on to more of our real world simulation. So plain clear ballistics, then our real world simulation. We have 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, a 1/4-inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum. That'll be more of our real world simulation. So we'll do plain clear ballistics and real world simulation. And then, as always, I am going to shoot at my steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our light Magnum 357 Magnum 125 grain XTP bullets. So what I got with my 38 special plus P load with the same bullet and the same powder was about 1,000 feet per second. So let's see if we get over 1,000 feet per second with the Magnum, light Magnum loading of this. 1,058, 1,066, 1,099. Let me run some more. Light started coming right down in a beam right as I was shooting over the chronograph. So let me load up a few more. All right, a few more here if I can get some reads. 1106. Let me go lower, closer to the sensors here. 1057, 1107, 1112. So some of them seemed consistent, but then some of them really started to not be as consistent as I wanted. Biggest surprise here is these are very light. This is closer to a 38 plus P plus than what it is to a 357 Magnum, but 10% decrease from the starting charge, and that's what we got. So I would not even consider that a Magnum at all. Very low recoil though. Now with our 44 special light Magnum here, what we have is, I believe, 9.2 grains. So we're still decreasing it by 10%, but let's see what we get with this. closer to the sensors. 1102, 1088, 1091. Let me run a few more. All right, I'll run a few more here. 1055, 1118, 1096, 1110. All right, so all things considered, this is actually about what I wanted to get here, especially with this 44 Magnum. I wanted a little more at that 357, but one thing I can say is both of these recoil like specials, like special plus Ps. You know, this felt like probably a 44 special plus P. Definitely not Magnum recoil. And our 357 was even lighter than that. So definitely as far as recoil goes, and actually velocity too, this is about what I wanted to see. I wanted to get, you know, I wanted to get a little bit more velocity with that 357, but you know, about 1100 with this, with almost no felt recoil, that's pretty good. So let's hit our ballistics gel block and see how these compare. All right, our best potential shot in the plain clear ballistics. What we have here is our 357 mag 125 grain XTP. See what this does? Very, very low recoil. Can't say it, I can't stress that enough. That is super low recoil. 44 mag, let's see what this does. Let's go take a look. All right, so this is a lot different than what I was thinking I was going to see. I thought for sure these are both going to be in that second block because that's not a huge amount of velocity. So I thought, well, we might get some controlled expansion and a lot more penetration than that. But we got exactly what I was hoping to see, at least in plain clear ballistics. I'm looking for something very light recoil, something that's going to do a lot better than a special, but have the recoil of the special and not over penetrate. And it looks like, at least in plain clear ballistics, both of these are doing fantastic. So first 3-inch piece here, 357 mag on the bottom, 44 on top. You know, about the same, a little more with the 44. Just a scaled up version of what we got with the 357. So pretty good tearing damage overall with our 357 Magnum. We have a penetration of about 14 3/4 inches of penetration, which is really spot on perfect. Now our 44 has quite a bit more damage actually. So it's looking better, and the recoil I would say on that is just a little bit hotter than a 45 ACP plus P, a little bit more than that, but still very, very low. And what we're looking at for penetration there is about 17.5 inches of penetration. Looks like we have good expansion. So we might lose some of that expansion after going through the denim, but let's put on our denim, put in our MDF, see how these compare in more of my real world simulation. All right, light 357 mag through 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, 1/4 inch MDF. Let's see what this does. Let's let that back up and hit with the 44. All right, 44 Magnum. Let's see what this does through our real world simulation. Let's go take a look. All right, so not bad overall, especially with that 357 Magnum. And these did about what I would expect them to do. So we're not seeing anything that's kind of weird or anything like that. And what we see here, interesting thing here with our 357, it didn't expand in that first 3 inches from what I can tell. Yet it did expand a little bit deeper in, as where our 44, you could tell that it's expanding right away. So what we got though with our 357, just such low recoil. I just have to keep stressing that. We got about the same penetration as what we got through with the Magnum through the plain gel. We got about 17 3/4 inches of penetration with our 357. Very, very just good overall. Perfect terminal ballistics here with the recoil of a 38. I mean, I can't ask for more than that. Now with our 44, we had a little bit more damage because we expanded a little bit quicker, and we got a little bit of over penetration, but we still have this moderate expansion. We only penetrated to about 20¼ inches, which that is definitely not what I would consider over penetration, considering the fact that in clear ballistics you get a little more penetration than what you would get in organic gel. You know, this is probably 18 inches if this were organic gel. So honestly, both of these are just absolutely fantastic. Both of them very low recoil. The more astonishing part though is the 357, because that truly is feeling like a 38 special, but yet its thermal ballistics is spot on with, you know, perfect. So we might not get 1.5 times expansion because XTP bullets generally don't quite get there, but overall pretty good. So let's pull these out of block. We'll take a close-up look at them. Now I'll shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets. Here's the bullets going through plain gel. Here's our 357 Magnum. Pretty typical XTP style expansion. Looks pretty good. And here is our 44. Same type of thing, you know, you don't get a whole lot of expansion, you get some pretty good controlled expansion. And I still think it's important though when working up loads like this to use the XTP rather than try to seek out a different bullet, because you know, there's not a lot of bullets available widespread for hand loading. Most people can acquire some XTPs. So I'm really trying hard to work with the XTP to see what we can get. So that's why I use those. Now 357 going through our medium density fiberboard here and our denim, you know, about what you would expect at 9mm velocities. You're not going to get a whole lot of expansion. It looks like it's still got just about as big, but you know, we're probably under a ½ inch, so not particularly fantastic, but not too bad overall considering the fact that it did a lot of damage and it did not over penetrate. Now our 44 going through the medium density fiberboard and denim here. You know, about the same thing that the 357 did. You know, we have a little bit less expansion, kind of controlled expansion, but overall not too bad. So honestly, looking at these, you know, yes, we can get bullets that have a lot better expansion, but you know, just as hand loading bullets, these are easy to come by, and that's not too bad overall with what we're seeing here. So that's a close-up look at those. All right, 12 yards from the target. One thing I want to mention before I shoot is a lot of people will take, you know, flattened primers as a sign of overpressuring, and that's not really a good science to go by. We didn't get that with either of the 357 or the 44. They look the same. Sometimes, you know, primers will flatten out if you have a whole bunch of pressure on that, but if you're using a standard primer versus a Magnum, they're gonna flatten regardless, which wouldn't necessarily tell you that that's overpressured. So just a note I'd like to mention. But we're gonna see what we get here with our recoil control, follow-up shots and all that, see how these feel for me from 12 yards. So I'm gonna get a sight picture, line up those sights really well, and then I'm gonna just fire as fast as I think I can hit the target and see where these things land for me. So here is our light 357s. Absolutely pleasant to shoot. They feel really good. Now, 44 Magnum, you know, a little bit of issues with case ejection here, but that's, you know, partly due to this revolver. It's always been that way since I've had it. So 44 Magnum here, if I can find my reload. A little bit more recoil with these, but let's see how they do for me. Just got to time it a little bit more, but you know, not significant recoil. This would be something, if somebody's afraid to shoot a 44 Magnum, this would be a perfect load for them to try, because it's, you know, it's got more than a special, but it's not, you know, you don't feel that pain in your hand. So pretty good. So let me back up and see how they continue to shoot for me. All right, 40 yards from the target, I could finally start doing this again. I didn't do it in the summer because of the trees was dark and everything when I put the camera this way. If I put it the other way, you see a bunch of junk and gear I bring out here. And the, you know, the woods is beautiful, so I don't like to have that in my camera shots. I'm a little bit particular about that, but now I can shoot from 40 yards and we're not blacked out, dark camera. So 40 yards from the target, let's see how these things do. 357 mag. Alright, they're all favoring just a little bit to the left for me. So let's see what we get with our 44. So same thing with this, going a little bit to the left. Two of those shots I went off the target to the left. That last hit I made, I had to aim quite a bit right on that target. So that's just a note to make, because I'm going to back up to 75 yards. They'll probably do that even a little bit more for me, but we'll see what they do from 75 yards. All right, 75 yards from the target. I always like to know the outer limits of my ammo, so this might not be particularly practical, but I have a fun time doing it. So 75 yards, light 357s. Let's see what this does. I'm gonna go single action. All right, so again, they are going a little bit to the left for me. I did hit one actually to the left, or to the right, from aiming too far to the left. So it's hard to know where to hold with these, but pretty much I think I just got to hold a little bit right, not quite off the target, but just hold a little bit right with these and see how they do. Hold that one. See, two misses there. The first miss, I actually pulled I yanked the trigger, I jerked it. I could feel myself, my skin of my finger hooked behind the trigger there. And that second miss, I saw the sight aim dead center on when that shot broke, and then it went too far to the left. But the ones I hit, I was aiming, you know, pretty much on the right edge of that target, and that did pretty well for me. So 44 mag. See what this does. Aim a little bit right again. Those do pretty well. So just aiming to the right side of that target a little bit here. If I can find my reload here. Let's see if I can do that in double action. Doing pretty well in single action. A double. All right, so I missed a couple there. So overall, I like what I'm seeing here. Pretty much I like what I'm seeing with the 44 a little bit better, because, you know, a 180 grain bullet, 1100 feet per second, that's actually pretty good. And the recoil here on this is really low. So I wouldn't really want to change this too much, but with the 357 mag, I think I want to push that up a little bit closer to the starting charge for 357 Magnum. Because what we saw, a 125 grain at 1100 feet per second, you know, that's not particularly impressive. That's, you know, that's average standard 9mm. It's better than 38 special, but it's, you know, it's 9mm on a long case. Not particularly impressive. Now with something like this, you know, 180 grain at 1100 feet per second, you know, we're up there, you know, pretty much like a 45 ACP plus P 185 grain. So that's exactly what I was looking to get with this, and we achieved that. But with the 357, I want to go a little bit more power. If I would a little more power with this, I think we would just simply get over penetration to a greater degree, because those bullets are pretty much maxed out how big they're going to expand being an XTB. So I would say pretty good overall. So, you know, again, the reason why I wanted to make something like this is I'm looking for a load that's better than a special, but not nearly as much recoil and blast as a 357 Magnum. I pretty much achieved that with this. I got a little work to do with the 357 Magnum. And one thing I want to mention here, Hickok 45 actually mentioned this recently, and it's something I've actually debated for the last, 20 years or so. People say that Dirty Harry used a 44 special in his Magnum revolver, and I completely disagree with that. And the people are saying that is because in the movie Magnum Force, the second movie in the series, he says that he uses a light special. He's on the shooting range, these rogue cops come in, which are rookie cops, and they say, what kind of load are you using in that 44? And Dirty Harry's like, a light special, it gives me more recoil or follow-up shot control than a 357 Magnum with wad cutters. He says something like that, which that would be true. However, I think, if we were gonna say that this this fictional story was a real thing that we had to decipher, I would say that Dirty Harry was using full-powered Magnums in that whole movie, in that scene, and here's why. One of the rogue cops says, what kind of load are you using that? And he says it's a light special, lower recoil and all that. Then he goes to load it and shoot it, and the recoil is like this high. There's huge muzzle flash, boom, boom. And then he says to one of the rookie cops, you want to try it out? He's like, oh, no. And the other rookie cop, who's the main bad guy in the movie, says, something like, for him to try it, and he tries it out. And before the other rookie cop shoots, the main bad guy, rookie cop, says, don't drop it. And he's a pistol shooting champion. He says, don't drop it. So he recognized right away that those are full powered Magnums, because he just watched Dirty Harry shoot it. And then that other rookie cop shoots it, and he shoots it really well. And at that point, Dirty Harry is very astonished. Not bad. So, why would that one cop say, don't drop it? Why was Dirty Harry astonished that rookie cop could shoot it that well? And why was there a huge muzzle rise in the movie? Those all point to the fact that those are full-powered Magnums, and Dirty Harry was doing nothing but hazing those rookies. I think my theory holds some water there, but nonetheless. So what we were trying to do here with this ballistic test was to get some, kind of some light specials in a sense, and the fact that, they're special loads, not necessarily 38 and 44 special, to get something that's not really commercially available. Now, you can get some 357 Magnums that are about like this if you go buy some PMC bronze, because those are junk. But, loads that are specifically loaded like this and marketed as this don't really exist. So I think I did pretty well with this, but our 357 mag, I'm gonna have to work on a little more. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.